So as we get into this Ice-T topic, did everybody see the Janet Jackson documentary?
Of course, honey. That was the biggest. That was the biggest thing to do.
Yes.
Woo! Come on now, Renata.
I
Yes,
love Janet.
man. I
I
love
loved
that.
her.
I love that. So I feel like it was so amazing. I think when I watched it the first part, I was a little like, oh, okay, they're about to give us just like VCR tape recordings and Janet Jackson talking in the background. I was not feeling it. I was like, this is not fair. I came here to see Janet, but they would have her like pop in a little bit at a time. But by the second one, I feel like they really allowed us to dive in to Janet's life with her. So for me, I feel like, there were so many aspects of this. It was so loaded. I feel like I'm overwhelmed. It was so loaded with things that I feel I was able to relate to. I mean, like, she was married to and divorced to James. I was same thing.
Okay, well,
Name names then.
Next to that.
Spill tea then. Okay.
the tea is early. The tea is early.
Really early in the segment. Really early.
Hey, Janet, we got a lot in common. But no, in all seriousness, I feel like it showed that she just was the type to take a licking, and she kept on ticking. And I see so much of myself where you're going through so much and people do not know. Life is literally like beating your ass. And I think we all can probably attest to, especially within the past 2 years alone. And you kind of have to get up, you have to face the day, you have to continue to thrive, and you have to look good while doing it. It's kind of like looking good while you're going through hell. So I was kind of exhausted watching it. Like, I can't believe this woman went through all of this. And I felt like I couldn't help her. I felt like I wanted to at least, help her with the little titty slip, like, here, Janet, and some tape, I felt like I didn't have any parts in helping her, but I do really feel that I never really recognized how iconic she was. And it was something that I couldn't deny. It was like, wow, because I was like caught up on Michael Jackson, but then it was like, no, Janet was the truth. She was really the truth. And she was so strong. And so it was a pleasant surprise for me. For me, I want to know with you guys, what was your takeaway from watching the 2-day documentary? Was there anything that stood out to you?
I'll jump in. I did watch it both nights, not live, but I did catch it. I loved the way the story was told. I loved how she started from the beginning. Like, you can't talk about Janet Jackson without talking about the Jacksons 5, without talking about Joe Jackson and Katherine Jackson. So I loved how she just started from her parents to her brothers, and she moved on to her life. She gave much respect to her father, despite what people may think, despite what people might feel. She and her brother, Randy, on the show said there would be no Michael Jackson, no Janet Jackson, no Jackson 5 without Joe Jackson. He may have been very disciplined, but he had a vision for his family, and he stuck to it, and he did whatever he did, what he had to do to make sure that vision came forth. I just appreciate, and I just like you, Nimdia, I didn't realize like all of her accolades. Like, at one time, when she was signing to Virgin Records, like, she became the highest paid artist of all time, beating out her brother, beating out McDonough and all these other people. Just also, like, Rhythm Nation, I think it was like the biggest debut tour that took place. She's the only artist now that was able to produce 7 top 5 hits from one album, and she has like the most consecutive top 10 entries on the US Billboard. So just recognizing like all that she did and like how amazing she was. So I just loved it. I loved it. Oh, and we finally got the tea on why her and Jermaine Dupri broke up. He was cheating.
Well, who didn't know that?
Right.
Who didn't know that? How do you mess up with Janet Jackson? Typical shit. Go ahead, Gerald.
I love Janet. Always had a crush on Janet from a very long time. Such a beautiful woman, beautiful soul, so calm and laid back. So seeing her last night, she's aging like fine wine. Just in any event, what stuck out to me was the evolution of Janet. Right, she came from being the youngest of superstars.
Yeah.
And she didn't know how to fit in. And she kept saying, I didn't know how to fit in. I didn't know who Janet was. And when she went to the studio, she started doing songs that they wanted her to sing. They gave her the sound that they wanted to hear from her. And then evolving from that into going into finding who she was and finding her identity musically really kind of, propelled her career and even her personal identity, to such high levels, and that was one of the things that was fascinating for me. I only watched the first one. So I saw the stories about Joe Jackson and I had to call my son and like, listen, we got to have a talk. We got to have a talk because he had a vision. He had a vision for where he wanted his kids to go. And he was not going to divert from that division. You guys are going to be stars. You guys are going to be great. And I think that, every parent, should really instill that type of vision into their children. I mean, the way he went about it may have been rigid and strict, but have a vision for your children. You got to be able to see them 10 years, 20 years down the line and put them on the path to success.
Right.
Did you get to see it?
I did watch, and there was so many things that stuck out to me, the things that were said and the things that weren't said. So I loved hearing about their childhood, but I was extremely curious to know the truth about this alleged child that Janet has had for years and years and years. There was always this story about this daughter that she had with James Garge, and I just could not accept that Janet would have a child somewhere and not own it and be real with us about having this child. And some people on Twitter were still saying like, that's not really a confirming nor denying, but we'll move past that.
It was a little shaky. It definitely was a little shaky.
Okay.
There wasn't a Janet Jackson saying, I did not have a child with
Right.
James.
This is true.
Right.
Okay.
It's detectives.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then the other thing that was really interesting to me that I feel like maybe I was too young, because I feel like I grew up with Janet, but she is much older than I, and the relationship with her and Renee kind of, I don't feel like that was ever really public in the way that it is public in this documentary, to where he was like really a part of her creative direction and filming. So all these different aspects of her life that we are now able to see. I'm shocked that Janet is even the one to tell so many stories of the Jackson family, about the parents, about Michael, because let the world tell it, it would have been LaToya that would have spilled all the tea. And it's questionable if people would have even believed her. But Janet is the one telling this story. And I really feel like she told us what she wanted us to know. And she definitely kept what she thought was not our business.
Yes, but she's very happy right now at age 53, I believe she is. I didn't even know she did another tour, Black Diamond and all. I didn't know any of this stuff. So I feel like she took us to school and we learned us some Janet yesterday and the day before that.